Naka-mute ka. Naka-mute ka.
Sorry, I accidentally pressed something.
So hindi, so bro, kasi yung initial propaganda movement sa Spain, when they said Filipino kami, they did not refer to that as a separate term.
Yeah.
They talked about that the way a Catalan would talk about being Catalan, meaning I'm Catalan, but I'm also Spaniard. I'm part of this kind of broader multicultural Spain. So when sina Del Pilar, sina Rizal used that in La Solidaridad, Filipino kami, they meant the same way you would say Basque or Catalan. But by the 1880s, when Rizal used Filipino, ibig sabihin niya hiwalay na talaga yon. So it was, for him, it was just a matter of time. And question na lang paano ka makakarating doon. Pero that was the inevitability and the goal for Rizal.
So it's a tactical rather than a strategic question. If I were to use
Napakalinaw na pro-independence si Rizal. Hindi na dapat deny na pro-independence si Rizal. And also, I mean, just think about ito matagal na natin itong alam, di ba? The Katipunan is of course a radical wing of La Liga Filipina, breakaway radical section of La Liga Filipina, na si Rizal ang founder. I mean, even the name Katipunan is in many ways Tagalog for what? Liga.
correct.
So, talaga in many ways, pag sinabi ng, like the Spanish government say like, oh, si Rizal ang founder ng Katipunan, in many ways, they were true, di ba?
Yeah.
Tatawagin mo silang sinungaling kasi ayaw mo maniwala doon sa mga pasista, but in many ways, they're right. Same thing, with Marcos. Oh, Marcos was the greatest supporter, Aquino was the greatest supporter of the CPP. Sasabihin mo kay Marcos, hindi, sinungaling ka. Pero actually, in certain respects, he's right. Pero hindi aaminin ng lantaran nung inaakusa mo. Bakit mo aaminin? Di ba? Bakit mo aaminin?
I just have a question, Leloy. Didn't Rizal sign up to go as a doctor to Cuba, and that's where he was caught and brought back in?
Yes.
What was it? Kasi, sorry, I just have to raise that because some are using that as a basis to say, well, if Rizal was really for revolution and all, why would he do that? Was that his way of fooling the Spanish about his intentions, true intention? What was going on there?
I read about this, no? Pero a lot of people say yun yung katraidoran ni Rizal, di ba, na nag-sign up siya. That's very common, but number one, doktor. Hindi ka naman papatay, di ba? Pangalawa, he really wanted part of it seems like he really wanted out of Dapitan. Parang depressed na siya sa Dapitan. So,
He was using it.
in contemporary parlance, it was a mental health move. That's what I think, There was a kind of depression that set in Dapitan already, and he just wanted out. Remember, taong gala ito eh. Was it the most ideal move? No. Was it katraidoran? I don't think so. Like he was done with Dapitan, and he saw an exit.
Interest, which friars were smart enough to realize that this is not him showing his fealty and loyalty to Madre España. This was just his way of finding a way back into the...
Ikaw mismo, mahilig kang bumaya, di ba? Imagine if somebody clipped your wings and said, dito ka lang sa Mindanao. Di ba? Parang,
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
Mindanao, I like Dapitan, but, may kiti-kiti ka rin kahit paano.
I mean, anywhere. I mean, I love Manila, I love Baguio, but if I stay there straight more than a month, right? Medyo nomadic eh. That's where you get your energy and all of that. And who knows? He wanted to make a trilogy, diba? Dun sa... wanted the third part, so probably wanted to go to Paris eventually, somewhere else and all. Now, I have another question, Leloy. There's this also part whereby Marcelo del Pilar, which I think is a very good argument that Rizal actually gave up on the whole integrationist approach. But Marcelo del Pilar mentioned that in 1890, may mga intermediaries and interlocutors from the friars came to his, I think, brother or something like that, and then they tried to push for this kind of an accommodation. Na, bubukas kami ng, what they call that, Colonial Council, Cámara Colonial, where, it will kind of create what I term as constitutional colonialism, right? Whereby yung Governor General mo is not just some caudillo who can do whatever he wants. And one of the powers he may lose is the power to exile anyone without a court decision. So some sort of due process. There'll be a new party open to young Filipinos. There'll be may bagong dyaryo, which Rizal and Del Pilar should write for. Ito yung sinabi ni Del Pilar. Sila raw ay magtatayon rin naman ng isang periodikong dyaryo at tayo raw ay magsusulat sa periodikong yan. Doon sa letter niya kay Rizal, ang hiningi lang daw nila ay wag natin silang banggain, referring to the friars. What do you think about this? Was this what is it, co-optation strategy? Was just like, I don't know, smoke and mirrors? What was going on there?
I'd like to grant that meron naman talagang segments of the Spanish colonial bureaucracy na more accommodationist. And then they realized na yung demands ng mga Pilipino ay actually they were not the most unreasonable demands. Actually, if you go back, I think one of the reasons why na-radicalize si Rizal is because napaka-baseline lang naman ng demands namin, hindi nyo tinutugunan, 'di ba? Secularization of the parishes, um, secular education, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, basic liberal rights, 'di ba? So hindi mo tinugunan yung basic liberal rights, and screw you. And I think by this point, Rizal was just like, we've tried so many times, just because sinabi nito ngayon, hindi ibig sabihin na tutugunan nila. So yun yung reading ko doon. Na siguro by this time parang over na si Rizal diyan. Kaya talaga umalis na talaga siya ng Espanya, 'di ba? Sabi nga niya dapat ang gamot ilapit sa pasyente. Kaya umuwi na siya ng Pilipinas eh.
Exactly, which tells you like he wanted to bring revolution back to home, right? And wala na yung mga reformist, procedural, middle ground kind of approach. Now, I just last question on the Rizal thing. What do you think about all of this racialization of Rizal? Because obviously he was not Creole, but he had a very strong Chinese blood. In fact, I saw a wax of him dun sa isang post ni Ambet Ocampo, like really Chino. I mean, he could look like the guys nearby here, Jan's Savior, di ba? He could pass as any. I mean, ano bang alam natin talaga about Rizal? Ba si Chinoy ba siya or like more Tagal? Like what was going on there?
Ayun, Chinese mestizo, or actually just mestizo.
Right.
Nakakalimutan natin na in the 19th century, if you said mestizo, you meant Chinese mestizo. So, if you did not put qualifiers, you just said mestizo, ibig sabihin nun Chinese. And Rizal was part of that. He's Chinese the way Noy, Cory, ganyan. Yung mga ganyang klaseng mestizo Chinese na highly acculturated, highly nationalist, 'di ba? In fact, yung mga mestizo they're the people who are actually more nationalist than nationalist. Maybe think of somebody like Cory or Noy, 'di ba? Parang
Or
very,
ano,
very nationalist but also very, very Chinese
I
mestizo.
mean, neighboring Malaysia, right? The people, I didn't know that when I read about it, I was fascinated that actually the Chinese Malaysian played a very important role in, formalizing yung Bahasa as we understand
Yeah.
it. I mean, I
Yeah.
had no idea about that.
Kaya there's a nandito ba yung libro?
Fantastic.
May
Yeah.
libro akong kailangan basahin dyan, which is Taming Babel by Rachel Liu, who looks at the
Yes.
politics of language in Malaysia. One of my favorite recent books in
Fantastic.
Southeast Asian
But it's
studies.
so amazing. So kaya nga sabi ko minsan like how ridiculous some of our arguments are about, ay hindi ito purong Pinoy, hindi ito totoong Pinoy,
Oh,
Chinoy, sir. Like, are you kidding me? Like Rizal, di ba meron
oh,
siyang ancestral home sa China or something?
oh. Ay, wala namang hindi ko alam, hindi ko sure about that.
I don't know, I saw some news about that. But anyway, what is there like that thumbs up?
Oy, bro, pero ito ang sabihin ko, saan ba nanggaling itong pride of the Malayan race na yan? May kanyang klaseng bullshit na sa Pilipinas. Pero actually, what is Malayan? Malayan is Malay, for me Malayan is Malay speaking. Now, in the 16th century, there were elite Malay speakers in Manila, largely because Manila was a trading port, and if you wanted to trade, you had to speak Malay. Pero Malay as a race is actually kind of like it's ill-defined. There's really no such thing as a
Yeah.
Malayan race, di ba? There's such a thing as Austronesian speakers who populate most of Southeast Asia, pero Malay is really weird. Now, for us to latch onto this idea of Malay kay Rizal, is partly a function of racialized mag-isip yung mga tao, but it's also kasalanan ng current Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim, who nung panahon ni Erap, pumunta siya sa Pilipinas at nagbigay ng napakaraming lecture tungkol kay Rizal about Rizal being the pride of the Malayan race. Now, I don't want to be I don't want to be ungenerous to our Malaysian friends, but keep your racialized communist politics
Out of
out of the Philippines, please. Wag niyo kami pakialaman ng ganyan, 'di ba? Hindi kami kagaya niyo na lahat ng tao kailangan kina-categorize based on their race, 'di ba? So,
don't bring your
partly kasalanan 'to ni Anwar.
Putra politics. Don't bring your
So,
Putra politics here.
oh,
Hopefully we're not.
halatang-halata yung ginagawa niya. Na-remember si Anwar nung panahon ngayon medyo mas post-racial na si Anwar, 'di ba? Putya nung 1990s, member pa yun. He was slated to become the prime minister of, let's face it, a kind of race supremacist party. of a Malay supremacist party. So obviously, tatawagin niyang si Rizal ng pride of Malayan race dito sa Pilipinas dahil meron siyang may political reason for him to do that at the time.
But okay, to top that, I think Mahathir called Pacquiao as the pride of the Malayan people nung may
Hayop talaga 'tong mga 'to, eh, oo.
I'm just telling you, like,
Mga
na-top
gago 'tong mga 'to, eh.
pa rin yung protege niya. Na. If you
Oo.
wanna bring Rizal, even si Pacquiao dinamay dyan sa Malayan race kind of thing. Kasi when you say Malay race, kasama rin mga Thai siguro doon or like Myanmar, like yun nga, like anything but Chinese.
Oo, Southern Thai, I don't know.
Yeah, like
Why don't you just say ano, para
Southeast
wag
Asians, right?
racial, the pride of pride of
ASEAN.
Southeast Asia,
Sa
pride of
ASEAN.
ASEAN,
Yeah.
ganyan.
Yun nga, you're absolutely right. Yung mga Malaysians, maybe they also should keep quiet about our South China Sea policy.
Ayan, oo, wag
Ano
kayong
pa yan?
makialam. Isa ka pa Anwar ha, isa ka pa
Mga
Anwar.
tumutulong,
Oh,
pasaway ka pa. Fantastic.
Anwar,
I think
hayop.
I really enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much, bro. I really had to bring out yung Barcelona. Yeah, he was going to Cuba kind of thing because again, that argument is raised against your guy, Rizal from Ateneo. Thank you so much, bro.